What's up, guys? VenomousStare, another before and after commentary on Game of Thrones. So, this is the season finale of Season 6, and it looks as though we might get a really good Bran scene. He kind of has these unforeseen abilities granted to him now where he can go back in the past and view things, and he was in the episode preview. So I think that we'll get a really interesting Bran scene, hopefully, and it won't just end with something boring. Obviously, Jon Snow and Sansa are coming off of a huge victory. I don't really think a lot will happen on that front. We see that Melisandre is going to be confronted by Davos, and Jon might have her killed, but I don't know how that will work. It'll be interesting if somehow his life is connected to hers in some way. I don't know if that will be a thing, but and almost most importantly, we have lots of progression in King's Landing with Cersei and her own weaponized religion, so that will be very interesting. So I'm going to pause the commentary here. The second half will be my thoughts post-episode, and this is the finale. And after this, the next season's only 7 episodes, so this is a big one. Okay, guys, I just got done watching the season finale, and I've got to say, a lot of great things happened. Lady Mormont started talking to people, just absolutely lambasting the worthless lords who turned their back on Jon Snow. Cersei took a page out of Nuke Duck's book and gassed them all. She absolutely incinerated all of her enemies, with no regard for civil life. And that's Cersei for you. Her son killed himself because he was so distraught. You know, there's always that option of a character could just say fuck it and kill himself. And everyone just kind of, everyone's aware of that, but it's just so unlikely to happen. Well, it happened. The king is dead. Cersei is now queen, which is bizarre. And Jaime comes back to find Cersei as queen. He can't, I think when Jaime left, he expected to come back and expected it to be a joyous reunion, He knew he was going to win the battle, win the siege. Hey, I didn't have to spend 2 years. What up? Oh, our kid's dead and you're queen now. Okay. So, that's what Cersei gets for weaponizing religion. She, in a roundabout way, ended up killing her final kid and made a huge enemy with the people who are now allies with the people who killed her other kid. We got to see the Sand Snakes return for the first time, and thankfully, the Lady of House Tyrell gave them the tongue lashing they deserved. The interesting thing about this is both Dorne and House Tyrell have beef with the Lannisters now, and Daenerys is sailing to Westeros. So the Lannisters are not long for this world, which is kind of interesting because seasons 1 through 3 especially have been dominated by the Lannisters. Ned Stark dying, Lannister fault, the whole Red Wedding, Lannister and Frey, which we'll get to. If you just look at the misfortune of the Starks, who many people perceive as the good guys, and the protagonists of the story, it's been caused by the Lannisters. Pretty much everyone except Tyrion is awful. Jaime has been getting better, but is not without guilt. I think the Lannisters' time is up. They just have so many enemies, and nobody likes Cersei. No one is behind Cersei. At least Tommen had a relative amount of popularity once he kind of joined up with the faith, the weaponized religion. People got into that because the faith was, I think, for a lot of kind of welfare programs, feeding the poor, stuff like that, so people could get behind that. I don't think anyone likes Cersei. She's known to be cruel. People don't trust her. They were aware of the bastard. I just don't think there's any way that we're going to be seeing the Lannisters for a very long period of time. And if we look up north, Jon completely has allegiance. Littlefinger's whole idea of selling Sansa to the Boltons and then rescuing her, that really had an absurd amount of risk to it that I don't think Littlefinger is acknowledging, didn't work. Sansa, of course, wants nothing to do with Littlefinger. You can't trust him as far as you can throw him. Jon Snow has rightfully been anointed the King of the North. We got a Samuel Tarly scene that was cutesy cute. That's all I'll say about that. And I think it's really, really interesting that we saw 5 seasons of Daenerys plotline where she was just building, just kind of doing her own thing, and entire seasons passed of people waiting for her to attack Westeros, saying, "Oh, this is the season. Okay, this is the season." Well, we finally got it, guys, and it was kind of crammed a bit, it felt, but it's good because now she's sailing to Westeros. She has Reek's help, everyone's favorite character, and his awesome lesbian sister. It's interesting to see so much character progression and alliances formed in one episode that are huge, absolutely monumental in terms of the show and how it will affect the plotline. Which is interesting again, the pace, because in previous episodes we've seen entire scenes and episodes be devoted just to trying to get lords to pledge and dialogues between two lords. If we had the scenes with Sansa, we had the scenes with Tully in season 1, Catelyn Tully, and this just all kind of happened. We also got the Tower of Joy scene. I predicted that there would be an interesting Bran scene, and there was. We got the Tower of Joy scene, and we learned that Jon Snow was really the bastard of Rhaegar Targaryen. Everyone kind of suspected that. That was a really big fan theory that everyone believed, but it's confirmed now. That's really interesting. Once again, this was all in the finale, and there's nothing wrong with that, but considering the next season is only 7 episodes long, I wonder if every single episode is going to be paced with this ferocity and this many things happening, because that kind of feels rushed. If you look at the pacing of all the other seasons, the pace at which they killed off big characters was significantly slower than what they're doing now. And it's kind of bizarre to see the way that they tie this in, because they do all of these big episodes, but then in between them there are these bizarro ones that a lot of weird stuff happens that people are just kind of supposed to take at face value just because it progresses the plot. If we look at the Sons of the Harpy, where Barristan dies, and that being kind of nonsense, opens the door for other people to come in. You also have to consider episode 8 of season 6, where Arya Stark has her ridiculous chase that the director of the episode called the greatest chase in cinematic history. I don't really like a Game of Thrones where we get these episodes of 1,000 amazing things happening, almost no bad things happening, and in between them they're just supplemented by kind of nonsense. I thought this was good and enjoyable and well done, and I obviously think that the season overall was entertaining, especially compared to other television shows. But when you consider Game of Thrones and what it represents, the last 2 episodes felt very bizarre in the amount of winning that was happening and the amount of good things without cost. Tell me what you think. Are you happy that the show seemingly had a turn for good and not sorrow? Tell me what you think in the comment section.